You don't want to have too little exercise. That's no good for you. You don't want to have too much. That's clearly no good. Where is that point? Well, moderation. And what is moderation is different for everybody. And this is the classic U-shaped curve, right? Too little is no good. Too much is no good. Somewhere in here is the optimal level of exercise. So you start exercising. And you want to get to right around here or here. But once you get past this point, you're actually hurting yourself and getting no more benefit, only more damage. So optimally, you want to end your exercise right in this area. Wouldn't it be nice if you could actually measure that area and know when you've reached that point? Because then it's like, hey, I'm done. I can go home and watch TV or play with my kids or do what it is that you want to do. So why do we exercise? Well, it's movement. We like to move. It's a natural thing. It's stimulating. It's good for our circulation. We need to keep our blood moving. If we don't, we can develop blood clots. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? We want to use our things so that we can maintain them. It's good for your mental state. Keeps the circulation going to your brain. Keeps you sharp. It also burns calories and fat. We want to maintain our basal metabolic rate so that we don't become obese. So these are some of the compelling reasons to exercise. And don't get me wrong, exercise is very good for you. I exercise, but not too much. So during exercise, while we're actually exercising, we actually have what are called catabolic effects during the exercise and shortly after, and anabolic effects for about a day to 3 days after. Now, you've probably heard these terms before. Catabolic. What does that mean? Well, let's look at this word catabolic. It's in cataclysmic or catastrophe. It means things are breaking down. It's a process of breaking things down. Catabolic. So when we work out, we break things down. We break down fat. We turn it into energy. We also break down muscle and turn it into energy. We break down glycogen. We turn it into energy. And we oxidize things. It's a pro-oxidant. We use oxygen to burn this stuff up. This is all catabolic. Now, what is glycogen? You guys heard of glycogen before? It's a storage form of carbohydrates, of sugar, and it's stored right in your muscle. So when you start working out, one of the first things that you use is you use up the glycogen. And I'm going to talk a little bit later how the difference between endurance type training and high-intensity training actually changes how we burn glycogen versus burning fat. It's very important. Anabolic means to build up. We've all heard of anabolic steroids. Bodybuilders use these. Unfortunately, professional athletes may abuse these substances. Okay? Build up. Think of Barry Bonds, right? Okay. Anabolic processes in the body. Rebuild and repair. Connective tissue. So you want to rebuild and repair connective tissue, rebuild and repair muscles, store energy in the form of fat and glycogen. Antioxidants, to a certain degree, are anabolic. They help rebuild and repair things. That's why antioxidants are very important. And we actually go through these cycles every day. This is part of what's called our circadian rhythm. You've all heard of circadian rhythm? It's our natural cycle. We actually are anabolic at times of the day and catabolic at other times. We have a tendency to be catabolic in the day. In the daytime, we're active. We do things. We burn stuff up. We excrete things. We are very catabolic. At night, we tend to be more anabolic. This is when we rebuild and repair and rest. That's why if you sleep too late, you feel lousy. Or if you miss a night's sleep, you feel lousy, right? We've all had that experience where if you stayed up all night, pulled an all-nighter. Now, maybe when you're 15 or 20 or 25, you can get away with that. But when you start getting into your 30s and 40s and 50s, I wouldn't know about these things, of course. But you pay for it. And then if you've ever had the experience of you got up really, really late and you just sort of never got out of it, you never got moving, because your body never woke up. It never really went through that cycle. So during the day we're active, we break things down, we burn fat, glycogen, and protein to perform tasks. At night, we're not active. We should sleep at night. We can then rebuild and repair and restore our bodies. Both cycles are vitally important to be healthy. One's not good and the other is not bad. Okay? They're both vital and need to be balanced with each other. go back to the question again. How much exercise is enough? How much is too much? How can we measure this? I'm going to tease you a little bit throughout this talk, and then I'm going to answer that question. Okay, so let me just talk about the exercise again for a second. So when we exercise, we actually become very catabolic. We break things down. So if you just keep breaking down your muscle, if you exercise every day, for example, some people work out every single day. This is a very bad idea because you'll just break it down, break it down, break it down. You will never rebuild and repair. It can take 2 or 3 days to rebuild and repair. If you're tired and achy and sore, probably means your body's still cycling through either that catabolic or that anabolic phase. Do not work out again. You basically let your body go through that cycle. You want to get that workout in there, become very catabolic, break everything down, and then you want to rebuild and repair it stronger and better than it was before. That's the purpose, to a certain degree, of exercise. If you lift weights and you want to build muscles, you break down the muscles, break them down. And then they need to be rebuilt and repaired. It takes 2 or 3 days. If you want to have better endurance, whether you're a marathoner or a sprinter, you're breaking down your cardiovascular system a little bit, and it's rebuilt and repaired over the next few days so that you're stronger and faster. That's the purpose of exercise. If you overtrain, your body can get stuck in either one of those phases. It can be overly catabolic, it could be overly anabolic, and different people react differently. And you may have different symptoms. So how do you monitor how much training you need? This requires objective feedback when your body tells you enough is enough. And I'm going to tell you how you're going to do that. Okay, so I hope I've convinced you that overtraining is not good. We want to minimize how much training we do. Let's go back to this curve here. We want to be somewhere along here. And then once we hit this point right there, we want to stop right there. How can we measure this? How can we monitor this? And you can do this through certain techniques. So how do we minimize the total workout volume? This is one of the advantages of sprint interval training. And when I talk about sprint interval training tonight, you can replace that with, instead of sprinting, getting on an exercise bike and going as fast as you can, or going on a row machine and going as fast as you can. The key here is intervals of high-intensity exercise. Sprinting for some people is going to be dangerous, and it's going to be impractical. Okay? If you're really, really overweight, you're not going to be able to sprint, or if you have problems with your knees. But you can do other things that are high intensity. So what are the advantages? And here's actual scientific evidence comparing short-term sprint interval versus traditional endurance training. Similar initial adaptations in human skeletal muscle and exercise performance. This comes from the Journal of Physiology 2006. And they show here that they examined changes in capacity, blah, blah, blah. They looked at these different people, and they talked about these sessions of 30-second all-out cycling at 250% of the target heart rate. It's pretty fast, right? That is balls to the walls, full blast, 30 seconds. And then they recover for about a minute to a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Well, what happened when they did this? They found that the commitment of time was 2.5 hours for the sprint interval training compared to 10.5 hours for endurance training. And the total training volume was approximately 90% lower. Do 10% of the exercise that you used to do. They did biopsy samples of the muscles. They found that the results were very similar in terms of the changes. Given the large difference in training volume, these data demonstrate that sprint interval training is a time-efficient strategy to induce rapid adaptations in skeletal muscle and exercise performance that are comparable to endurance training in young, active men. So now the title of the talk was, Cut Your Workout Time in Half and Achieve Better Results. This is saying, cut your workout time to 1/10 of what it was and achieve the same results. That's pretty amazing, right?